the older guy
Come here,
thinking,
see?
"Oh, I know
Come here,
all
see?
about you. Yeah, you got a left hook."
Here we go.
You're listening to the Leafs Power Dump, Episode 9, March 14th edition. Boy, we got a lot to talk about today. And it's going to be crazy, wide-ranging, possibly tense. But at the end of the day, we all love each other.
Let's start rhyming off the players on the Winnipeg Jets right now. Like we're all like, "Oh no, we got beat by Winnipeg." Yeah, well, they're a pretty nice team.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Yeah,
like they've been that way for years. You know, like they've underachieved in the playoffs more so than we have, as far as I'm concerned. Their players are older, and you know they've got a beautiful roster. Plus, they got a Vezina goalie. So
let's talk about the Vezina goalie a little bit. Like,
okay,
when you start with 3 rows of bricks blocking the bottom half of the net, you're at an advantage.
the interesting thing is not a Vezina goalie last night, and that was their most dominant win. Now, is that the same thing that we talked about? Like, you know, Maurice is like, let's win one for the backup, and they tried to shut it down. It was a weird game. That call with the sort of like Kyle Lowry bump into that looked like an offensive foul in the NBA game to me when I watched it, not an actual like hockey play where it was
you went chest to chest.
You bumped into Riley and fell over. And like, oh. That's interference.
And then it just escalated from there. It was like all of a sudden, like the wheels fell off, the axles fell off, a couple mirrors blew into the crowd. Like what happened in that 4 minutes following that call?
Don't chirp.
Was that it, or did we play bad the whole game?
I don't think we did. I thought we looked great in the first period. Like we were challenging, things were going. Obviously, we snapped that one past Brissoy, but Brissot. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Brissoy.
He knows how to pronounce his name.
And that got called back, and that was a totally righteous callback. It was a very obvious hand.
Beauty shot by Engvall, eh? That's a real heartbreaker for him. Just like, look at this. I can rip this. Pops the water bottle with like highlight reel and everything. I'm sorry.
And the lid goes into the stadium.
Glass. Yeah, exactly. But then I felt like the first half of the second period, they were just outplaying us. Like we were all over the shop. It didn't feel like we had any sort of rhythm to it. Then we kind of got our shit together by the end of the second. And then there was that weird little flurry of penalties. And then, you know, we're tied coming into the third. Things are looking, well, let's see what happens. Not sure who came back out onto the ice, but the refs were certainly there. And then it was just a mess. We certainly didn't earn a win last night. It wasn't like we had a win stolen from us.
Yeah. So halfway through the season, then right now, taking into consideration this last, week or two of games, setting the record aside, John, what do you think? Like, what's your feeling on where the team is right now?
I kind of hope it's mid-season complacency or something, you know, like they let the rest of the division get back at them, right? Where, what is it, 6 points or between us and Winnipeg, and they've got 2 games in hand. So they're basically 4 points, right?
4 points. With
a couple of games in hand. So they're basically, you know, even with us. Killer instinct, you know, where was the killer instinct?
Taking this team up against Columbus, like we did in the playoffs the first round last year, where do you feel with this team right now halfway through the season would fare as compared to that team last year?
Yeah, this team would beat that team.
Yeah, 100%. I think you're right, John. It's that mid-season sort of thing. I think there was the big letdown after the Edmonton game, and I think we sort of just like hit a bit of a speed wobble. You know, Hellebuck did shoot the lights out in those 2 games, and if if it's a different goalie and we're playing that way against that team, you know, we're up on Winnipeg by 4 more points, and I think this team is the team that can elevate their game for those really important games. I think we're just hitting a little bit of a sluggy spot here. You know, I do want to go back and talk more about the reffing at some point in last night's game.
Circle back to that.
In a general, and just reffing in general. This year, not even our games, like some of the other games. It's been a weird year for that.
Well, I was going to say, even that hand pass, right? You know, that called back the first goal, they missed it. You know, I'm 250 kilometers away and I can see it, and they're 6 feet away and they missed it. Like, come on.
Oh, they weren't even 6 feet. The linesman had to lean back to not have it go past him.
And he waved it off. I was like, wow, he waved that off. I'm like,
yeah.
I think he thought that the Winnipeg player touched it because there was a little conflation of sticks there. But still.
conflation of sticks.
Conflation of sticks.
We got Don Cherry and Brian Burke mixed into one. It's like, I don't know that guy's name and I don't care. And here's my vocabulary dominance.
I need to have a really loud jacket on right now.
Totally, man. You got to get your wardrobe game has got to get.
Kids, if you're at the line and you can stop a puck with your hand, you do it.
Stay tuned after the show for our glossary of terms. Yeah, well, here's a good question about reffing that's going on right now. They're erring on the side of calling things. You know what I mean? Like things, phantom things, stuff that they generally didn't call last period, last game. Is that worse than letting stuff go? You know what I mean? Where you got to call that ref, you know, like there's the two different sides of things that I think, and this whole season has been about, that's not a penalty. Like we're going back and forth texting to each other saying, seriously, even for the other team, that's not a penalty. Mm-hmm. So I would you rather see grip, like guys pulling guys down and not getting called, guys hooking a guy on his way on a breakaway and not getting called?
That shit's happening anyways. I don't know what they're calling. There's guys getting hit from behind. I'm going to be Homer rant guy right now. There is
another rant.
Is garbage. There is people getting cross-checked from behind with no call, and then there's a guy who bumps into somebody and it's a call. There's a tap on a stick and that's a call. And then there's somebody hacking somebody's stick in half in overtime in front of the ref, 2 feet away, no call. So it's not like they've decided to call more or call less. I don't know what the hell they're calling. And then apparently now you can't even chirp the refs anymore. In prior years, Babcock would be, jabbing and jarring and all that sort of stuff. That Riley gets the penalty, comes back out, says something to the ref. Doesn't even look like he's even overly animated about it. Probably like, what the hell, man?
Thanks a lot, ref. Yeah, thanks for the goal.
At that time of the game when they typically put the whistles away. And then the next face-off, the Jets clamor out, like a face-off scrum happens, and we're called for interference. Well, what about the fact that Tavares was taken down on the face-off by a Jet player? That penalty to me was like, don't chirp us. We're the authority here. Screw you guys. Here's another penalty. And then when our coach loses his mind, which he rightfully should, and good for him because it shows he's fighting for the team, they're like, don't chirp us again. You get an unsportsmanlike. Come on. Like Tortorella would have, he'd be in the penalty box him, but the team would be, with penalties all the time for him. What's the deal with that?
What's up with that? What's up with that?
Are they somehow now being put in a spot where you can't comment to the refs during the game?
It seemed as though the night's commentators knew that he was going to be issued a penalty. So maybe something has changed with the rules this year or something like that. But they were saying he's going to get a penalty. He's going to get a call here.
Well, that's the Illuminati. They already knew what the outcome of the game was. Right. We've already talked about that.
That's right.
Fixes it.
It's the deep state.
The deep state was back.
What am I thinking about?
Well, now I've got this vision of Torts going out of control, and then he gets a penalty, and he sends Patrick Laine over to sit in the box.
And that was his game plan all along.
He gets to kill two birds with one stone.
So, speaking of penalties, I got the Marlies behind me. Did you guys see Scott Sabourin's 23 seconds of chaos?
No.
Yeah.
And then the Leafs called him up, but he piled into the Laval's goalie and then fought two guys at once, basically.
Yeah.
In the first 23 seconds of the game, and then he went 17 minutes of penalties and a game misconduct.
You got to see the highlight. It's not like he bumps into the goalie. He takes out of the crease to the boards. Wow. They travel 8-10 feet.
Yeah. And Alex Galchenyuk got a Gordie Howe hat trick the game before.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting with Galchenyuk too, because it never struck me as the kind of player that would be mixing it up a bit. So, I've heard just good things about what he's doing down there and that he's buying into the system. Maybe we see him this week.
That'd be good.
I believe the Rascal predicted we'd see him soon.
I don't think the Rascal's a big fan of reffing. He strikes me as a bit of a fast and loose kind of fella. How about fighting?
Now that you mentioned Sabourin, what do we got as far as guys? Because it's interesting. I keep seeing on all the highlight reels, big guys fighting on other teams. And I think to myself, okay, how's that going to go for us? Is that why we're not fighting? Because we don't have one.
We do though.
You know,
I'm surprised Bogo hasn't been fighting. Like, what's going on there? He's a tough, big, solid dude. He's been pushing guys out of the crease, but there's been nobody's fighting. Is everybody just waiting for Wayne Simmons to come back?
The problem with Simmons, though, he's going to come back, and he's coming back off a hand injury. You can't just immediately have him start beating that hand off someone's helmet.
Yeah.
We'll lose him.
But it does take two, you know, like usually these guys are yipping back and forth, or they know, or it happens off a face off. Like these things are preordained.
Exactly.
There's nobody skating around in the Leafs right now looking for trouble. Like it's just saying like, hey, this seems like we got a different team game happening. Edmonton and Calgary or Ottawa. Like, I mean, all these guys are fighting each other. What's going on with us?
We're playing Ottawa tonight. I mean, you know, it's a hometown local rivalry. Maybe we'll get a little pippity pop.
Yeah, but Ottawa Kachuk is very high in penalty minutes and fights, I think, now. He's like second in fights, I think.
Yeah.
So maybe somebody will dance with him.
It's something to do with, like, we haven't had to be fighting for points pretty much for most of the season up until now. Like, basically, it's like, why fight? We're just dominate. We were so far ahead of kind of everybody before. And when you're in the lead, you have a less tendency to fight. The cheekiest thing I think I've seen, I mean, aside from Simmons having some fights and sorting some guys out, was Muzzin flipping the puck to Chuck. You know, but if you think of guys that can fight on our team, we do have them. But you're right, nobody's walking around trying to cause trouble. Could be also those things like, we're not going to cause trouble because we're probably going to get extra penalties, and you know, we'll put ourselves on the short hand a little bit. But Simmons can fight, Bogo can fight, Muzzin can fight. Hall's a big guy. I've seen him fight before. Not that Jumbo's going to do it anymore, but hey, man, Jumbo tossed Kadri around like a ragdoll until Kadri is holding onto his beard like a tilt-a-whirl handle, man. Like, I know.
He'll get in with that 1930s thing. The older guy thinking, I know all about you. Yeah, I got a left hook.
Like, hey, Bogo was giving Dermott lessons. Let's see Dermott, see if he can learn something or not.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's being in the winning position that we're not fighting for points. Now we got to start fighting for points. It's a calm team.
It feels calm, which I liked, and I guess I still like. I would prefer a calm team that consistently can sort of take adversity and sort of absorb it and then refocus and get back on the ice and do the job. But at the same time, kind of even last night, a bit of what feels like might have been missing was a bit of that fiery passion of like, this is bullshit. We're getting screwed here. This is bullshit. The post-game interviews, you know, we weren't finding our game. We were off our rhythm. We were blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. Get out there. If you're off your game, then go out there and do something that isn't your game.
Yep.
Pick somebody, put them on the ice, take a penalty, fire up your bench.
Have a scrum that causes something in front of the net, get them in penalty trouble, get them knocked off there. Like, you know, like
Spezza did in the Columbus series. That lit a fire. And at that time, he was like, really? Spezza's doing that? Somebody needed to do that last night for sure. It isn't going to be Muzzin as well because he's playing with a broken face. So Muzzin's not getting into a fight for a little while. And I don't even know if he wants to throw like a big hit.
Yeah, but he's not going to fight. No, he's not the physicality guy right now. Like you say, he's got his face all smashed up.
But big hits can do the same thing as fights. And you know, there's lots. Also, when you're winning games, you're not hitting as much. We know that because you've got the puck. Well, we didn't have it last night because they were out shooting us like crazy. So what you need to be doing then is adjust your game and being like, let's hit them and knock them off the puck or cause a ruckus.
Kerfoot landed one good hit last night. It was a good hit, and it was in the perfect camera angle, just crunching behind their net. But like that was it. That was the one highlight hit for us of the game.
But that hit didn't cause a kerfuffle, did it?
It did not.
Nice segue for Kerfuffle. It's supposed to be his new nickname, the Kerfuffle.
The Kerfuffle.
Speaking of which, are we willing to let this guy go? Why does every time trade talk come up that Kerfoot's mentioned as part of the equation? I like him ever since he came over from the Kadri trade. He's kind of had a little bit of ups and downs, but he's not a player that's expected to produce. And but man, he really makes a difference. He's been able to slide in and out of different lines, and usually, you know, he's bringing a lot of energy to the play, and I like him. I think he's a good player. He's a good centerman. I like to keep him around, but
he's like Hyman light in a way, you know.
Yeah,
I think his name comes up a lot because he was brought over to replace a fan favorite. So, you know, fans get up in arms. They're like, he's no Kadri. Let's get rid of him. You know, you hear so much like, I want to have Kadri back. We've already went over that where it's like, do we?
Yeah, really.
Well, but it's the press too. It's not us. It's like, when they're talking about like seeing Jake DeBrusk come up, and then there was something that Kerfoot and Liljegren were mentioned as potential trade players for the chatter that was going on with Buffalo.
Oh, we did make a trade this week, though. I mean, going to the Jack Campbell Groin-o-meter, we traded for a goalie. So maybe the groin, the groin must not be where we think it is.
It's moved from I'm good to I popped it.
I popped it.
But all the goalie chatter, it's kind of funny that we picked up a goalie.
Yeah. How do we feel about Freddie? Not talking trade, just generally Freddie's play. He looked really sad in the post-game interview. How are you feeling after you're coming back from your lower body injury? And his response was basically, I think I'm moving really good and I don't really want to talk about it.
I think those games with Hellebuck, he just sort of stood on his head, and so that shows you how amazing he was. And then the shots, that Freddie faced in that sort of middle game, they were putting in some beauty shots. Like if we were scoring those goals, we'd be like, no chance. That goalie had no chance. What a beauty shot by Ehlers, or whoever.
Yep.
So I don't know. I still believe in Freddie. I like him. I think there's not a lot of options out there as well. And when you look at his performance over the last 5 years, he's in the top 10 of goalies that are out there.
I think he's still in a class with the rest of this team. Like when there's sputtering or misfiring or when things aren't working well, it's team wide. Like I don't think we've got a bench that's performing crazy great and our goalie's falling apart, or vice versa. That our goalie's keeping us in the game. Because like you said, Paul, it's not like he's stolen us any games recently.
Not this year.
Isn't stole us a game ever. I don't think. Like as far as I'm being, a little bit exaggerating, but the point is,
like since he's been a Leaf.
I think, put it this way, this is my personal opinion. It's very personal to me. I like flashy goalies. I like Dominic Hasek. He was one of my favorite goalies. Like, so the fact that and Billy Smith, you know what I mean? Guys that are in the game like that. So he's already not my taste as it is. That's a personal thing. When I look at his performance, on top of that, I'm going to be critical because of the way that I feel about it. So when I look at the way that he plays and the fact that he is prone to let in soft goals that can deflate the team, that's something that's totally different from these. I don't know. I don't watch Hellebuck every day, so I don't know if he does that same kind of thing too. But he let me down in the Columbus series last year, and he didn't win any games in a major way for us the previous year in the playoffs. So I don't know how much this guy's really proven to me when I'm seeing guys like Binnington and Hellebuck and stuff like that play out of their minds. He doesn't shut teams down in a frustrating way. He plays solid. He's a great goaltender, but to me, if he went and we replaced him with somebody else that was more along my style, I would be okay with it. I think if they did something exciting to do with goaltending this year, that could really, really light the team up.
All right, we're fighting today, so that's fine.
Nice.
I just see the game as I see it, whether I like him or not. It's like I think he's good. 2016, 2017, 2018. Oh yeah. Without Freddie, we're not making the playoffs those years. He was stealing games for us. Our team was a lot of rookies, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of craziness. And I think Freddie was stealing games. I think,
2016, 2017, 2018, look at Carey Price. You want Carey Price right now?
Those years are great. Is he the goalie right now? Mm-hmm. No, but is Binnington? No. What Freddie hasn't done, Freddie hasn't gone on a run. Freddie hasn't been that guy.
Freddie hasn't won us a playoff series.
No, exactly. And that's what he does need to do. So, again, maybe he isn't the guy, but has he done well for this team? He has. Can he be that guy? Mm-hmm. I think he can. I like flashy goalies, too. Mike Palmateer was one of my favorite goalies growing up in that thing because he was like, where is he? He's just all over the place. Boreas Alming was playing net half the time.
But who is the last goalie that won us a playoff series? Like Ed Belfour or something?
Once again, not a flashy goalie. Mike Vernon, like those style goalies, they're like that. But there are lesser teams where their goaltender has won them playoff series around the league in recent years than our team. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that's not the personality of the Leafs. That we just have a solid goalie, but there have been those ones where there was 2 games last year in the playoffs where he let in loose goals.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the playoffs.
Yeah.
So anyway, going into the playoffs again this year, I've got that in my mind.
Maybe this will be the year he surprises us all.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Who do you go out and get in the meantime, or do you basically say, well, let's put all our cards on the table for Jack Campbell.
No, we're playing with him,
Yeah.
and we're just going to find out this year for sure. I
Yeah.
hope whether or not he's the guy.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
And then that's going to determine.
I don't think we're going to give him another season after this to find out whether or not we got knocked out in the first round of the playoffs because of our goalie.
It's finals or nothing for Freddie this year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like if we get to the finals, and it might be cup or nothing for Freddie this
Yeah.
year.
So he's got to go from winning no series to winning them all.
And that's what everybody should be doing. And the whole team should be like that too. Like that's on Matthew.
Why do I think the other guys are ready, but he's not? I don't know. Am I being hard on Freddie? What's happening to this podcast?
But they haven't proven it. And it's like
This is all coming out. This is like therapy, guys.
Welcome to the Freddie Dump podcast.
But they all have to prove it. I'm holding all those guys to that standard. You're making that much money. You're in your 5th year in the league. There's no fucking surprises when it comes to playoffs. It's a tough one. It is a fiery week.
So also,
Mate, this is what happens when you got nothing to talk about.
if any of your fans out there, any of you fans out there are experiencing, dark thoughts or crisis, call the Power Dump Podcast hotline. We'll talk you down.
You guys see John Tavares' assist this week? That was my play of the week, I think. That skate through 4 players and then dish it over when you know you're going to get hit.
Oh yeah,
Still make that pass. And then great finish by Nylander for sure.
Yep.
2 guys that I think need to be broken up, by the way. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Nylander?
I don't know. There's something missing there in that mixture. I think they have the ingredients to be a great pair, but I don't think they've solved who that third guy on that line is quite yet. But that was a good sign to show that play with Tavares walking in the way he did and then dishing it over for a beautiful goal for Nylander.
I mean, who isn't loving Nylander right now? The player we knew he could be and we wanted him to be has shown up.
Going into this year's playoffs, that's a different Nylander, I think. Because he sat out last year. I don't think he was up. So that's why I'm looking at across all of these players, and it's going to be, how have you improved, or are you a better player, or are you in a better situation on your line, or what is it? But I'll tell you, like Engvall's looking better, Hyman's looking better. He's having a fantastic season. You can't, Jumbo Joe, is going to be there, and he's even going to get cranked up when they get into the playoffs. Austin Matthews just looks stronger. I don't think he's going to get tossed around like he did last year in the playoffs. And Marner, I don't know. He comes and goes. He had a funny game. Sometimes he does amazing things, and other times he does low percentage things, that aren't going to happen. And he tries those plays anyway. So, but anyway, when it comes to Freddie,
don't shit on Freddie.
Where is he going to be in this year's playoffs?
Willie Stiles needs to just prove the consistency on that. Again, this is the guy.
Yeah. He's
been playing, I think, both ends of the rink. He's been just working his buns off out there in those
a little muckier.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Again, he's not a big muck it up kind of guy, but he's using his body position well, and he's back checking and minutia criticisms. But when he goes at the end of a shift, get off the ice faster.
Skate to the bench. Skate to the bench.
You've got to get that change happening so that guy can get on.
I agree. That's my one complaint.
I think it's the veterans, right? How can you coast when you look at some of those other guys in the dressing room, right? And, you've got Jumbo Joe calling you Willie Stiles and butting up with you.
Maybe that was something you don't know what's said in the locker room, but maybe after the benching or this or that, maybe Joe had a one-on-one with him or something like that. And it was just hey, this is what we need to do. You can do it. We know you can.
This.
Sit on my knee, Willie. Let me tell you a story about a young Landon Couture. He came to me as quite an unpolished little guy. I rubbed him the right way, and look at what he's become.
Touch the beard, the magic beard.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to do a shout out today, and it's all about dads. So today is my dad's 87th birthday. He's the reason I watched the Leafs, and this year the family chipped in, and we got him autographed Johnny Bauer #1 jersey. So
awesome! Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Mr. Maker.
87. Yeah, he used to go to the Gardens when Teeter Kennedy was playing. So he's watched Joe Thornton his whole career.
Yeah. I wish I knew what was going to happen in the future.
Oh,
Hey boys, hey, what's going on? It's been crazy. So crazy. You know, these predictions, they're tough. I got a tough job. And my magic tequila bottle, I think it must be broken. Because it's not giving me the predictions that I always wanted to have in these happy times. So, it's in the shop. I gotta get that fixed. I took it to the Mystic. Hopefully it'll be better with these predictions. Maybe they'll get back on track. So, let's talk about a few things, like that call on Riley. What the hell? That was so soft. That reminds me of the time I accidentally bumped into the Rock's elbow and I got knocked out. Wasn't my fault. I'm telling you. Alright, let's get into predictions this time. Willie Styles, he's gonna keep it rolling. And I'm telling you, the Wayne train, he's back on the weekend. And he's gonna get a goal in his first game back. Oh, I love the Wayne train. Those fists of steel. Oh, I just disappeared. Oh, I'm back. Hey! Last prediction. It's gonna be a quick one this week, guys. The last prediction is the refs will still suck at the end of this week. And that's gonna be continuing all through the season. Bye, guys. I'll do it. Help me get off this phone.
Can we let the rascal go now?
I'm back.
Before we sign off, guys, who is the star of the week? I'm going to pick Zach Hyman. To me, it was the Mikheyev assist that he ended up getting on that play, where he went back, the way that he recovers pucks. I noticed in one case, he actually let a guy have the puck for a second just so that he could get a better angle on taking it away from him. From a certain point, at another based on where he was positioned. He just knows how to battle for pucks better than anybody on the team. And then when he gets it, he now gets it in position, puts it in position for guys to score. What a beautiful, hardworking example of a hockey player. I just love Zach Hyman right now.
Since you picked Hyman, I'll pick Willie Styles. I'll give him the second star. He was just I like where he's going with this game, and good on him for picking it up and responding to people.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to third star Mikheyev. I think Mikheyev's demonstrated that he's on the cusp of being like really, really good. I mean, he's still skating super hard. He's in all the plays. He's good with his stick, and he's begun to find the net. So if he can start hitting the net more consistently, become a little more of a threat when he's coming in on a goalie, then he's suddenly top shelf as well. So Mikheyev.
Scott Sabourin for the best 23 seconds of hockey I've seen in a long time. Happy St. Patrick's Day coming up before our next podcast.
Right, of course.
I don't know.
I should have been drinking a Guinness this morning, or at least a Bailey's.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I don't know
Happy
if they'll be
St.
wearing the green tonight, probably.
I wonder what our record is when we wear the green.
Stay tuned till next week when we'll fill you in.
All right.
You've been listening to the Leafs Power Dump. Like and subscribe. Buy our merch.
Doobly-doo, because somebody has to say that.
And links in the doobly-doo. Time-coded links, which you should already know by now because you've probably skipped over some of the boring parts of that clip. Anyway, stay tuned until next week. Happy St. Paddy's Day. Here we go.
Leafs Power Dump Podcast is Kirk Comrie, Chad Maker, Paul Zimick, and John Galway. Copyright 2021 Firewallet Productions.